Candace Curtis. I am a graduate student at Arkansas State University. I am a kindergarten teacher. This is my kindergarten classroom. I've taught kindergarten for 4 years. 6 years in education, 1 year in first grade and 1 year in second grade, but kindergarten is definitely where my heart is. I decided to do my lesson on regulating behavior. This year I've had lots of challenging behaviors in my classroom. One in particular, I have a student with autism and he also has ADHD. He has a lot of aggressive behavior towards the other students and also towards me. His aggression towards me is more verbal rather than physical, but he is physical with the other students. So I really thought this would be a great topic to do this lesson on for him. So my topic is self-regulation when challenging situations arise. It is for kindergarten, for life skills. I want it to be a one-on-one tutoring session. I feel like if I had no students in the classroom and it was one-on-one, he would do much better for me. Small group, he does okay, but one-on-one is much better, and that's why I chose that. So the only other person that will be in the room during the lesson will be his paraprofessional. And I chose to do that because I feel like this is something that she would really benefit from as far as implementing this in the future, especially if we want to get on top of this behavior. It could be something that we could do daily to really get him to understand what the appropriate behaviors and responses need to be for him. It's going to be a 30-minute lesson. He does have ADHD, like I said before, so sitting for long periods of time is very difficult for him. So I wanted to chunk up a 30-minute lesson into 3 10-minute chunks. I want to do a little bit of a brain break in between, and that way I can keep him focused throughout the lesson. My goal for this lesson is the student will identify and sort appropriate behavior responses using task cards with 75% accuracy. My objectives are that the student will identify positive responses to behavior, and the student will also identify negative responses to the behavior. The assessments that I'm going to use for this lesson is going to be both formative and summative assessments. My formative assessment is going to be during the guided practice, where I am just going to be checking for understanding and just observing him. The last part of my lesson is going to be a summative assessment, where I can truly see if he is applying the information that was being taught to him. Student considerations, he is below grade level in all areas. He is serviced and sped for math, reading, and writing. So those accommodations are going to be done in the assessments. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get started with the lesson. So to start off the lesson, I really just wanna start a conversation with him and just talk to him about anger and how he feels when he's angry. So I'll ask him, how do you feel when you're angry? What happens when you get angry? How do you respond to anger? And just kind of get him interested in the lesson. When we talk about that for a little bit, then I want to read this story to him. When Sophie gets angry, really, really angry. Throughout the book, as I'm reading, I want to ask him questions like, what do you do? What would you do if you were Sophie? How would you respond to being angry? Would you respond like Sophie did, or would you respond in another way? And just really ask him lots of different questions, try to get him to connect with the character in the story and see if he reacts the same way she did. After we do the story and the discussion, we're going to take about a 10-minute break. This is going to be something simple like Play-Doh or jumping jacks or even iPad. He's very into technology and loves it, so iPad, 5 minutes of iPad would be really awesome for him. So we're going to do about 5 minutes of that, and then we'll reconvene for the middle part of the lesson. So the middle part of the lesson is going to be a sort that I created. Okay, so this is going to be if a situation occurs, how am I going to respond to it? So then what happens if the situation occurs? And then once I respond, what are my rewards or my consequences? So I pulled out a couple of examples that is a daily occurrence for him. Now, whenever we do the lesson, I'll do about 6 or 7 different situations for him to make sure that he really understands what the appropriate response would be. But for now, I'm just going to show a couple. So the first situation that I chose would be my teacher tells me to sit down because he has a lot of trouble with staying in his seat and sitting down. So my teacher tells me to sit down. He can either respond with, I comply with what my teacher is asking me, or I say no. Now, the beginning of this lesson, and this is going to be the first time that I'm presenting this information to him, I'm only going to give him two choices. I'm going to give him the positive choice and the negative choice. I don't want to confuse him with a bunch of different choices. Just two choices, positive, negative, that he gets to choose from. Now, let's say that he chooses, I say no. Then the next part would be his consequence. I may visit the principal, or I may get rewarded. Now, if he's confused with how he should respond, I can say, if you say no to Miss Curtis, do you think you're going to get rewarded or go to the principal's office? Now, if he said no, he probably wouldn't go to the principal's office, but this is just an example. All right, so the next one that I chose deals more with his impulsive and aggressive behaviors towards others. So my teacher tells me to work in a group for an activity. So his choice is, I am respectful to others, or I choose to hurt others, okay? And then he gets to choose it. So he chooses how to respond and then what his consequence is again. So that's just a little example of what the middle part of the lesson is going to entail. Like, we'll give him about 6 or 7 different situations to make sure that he's really understanding the appropriate responses to the situations. All right, so after that's done, we're going to do another 5-minute break, iPad time, Play-Doh, something of his choice that's going to kind of get his mind off of what we're doing, give him a little break, and then we're going to reconvene for the closing and the summative assessment. So after we've done the sort and he's familiar with the appropriate choices, then I'm going to assess him on it. So I made a sort that he is going to create that's going to be an extension of the sort that he's already done. So the title of his sort is going to be What Makes Me Angry. So I'm going to set this out in front of him. And then I'm going to ask him, what makes you angry? What are some things that really make you angry? And he's going to tell those to me, and I'm going to jot them down on an index card. And we're going to do about 4 or 5 and put those down in front of him. Then we're going to talk about bad responses and good responses to that anger. Now, like I said before, he is low in reading and writing. So I think for this lesson, it would be appropriate for him to draw a picture instead of writing anything down as a response. So he has a few choices there. So he is going to draw a picture of a bad response to his anger and a good response to his anger for each situation. And that's really going to tell me, is he really understanding what an appropriate response is, or there's some things that we might need to work on. And in the future, after we do this lesson and I see how he responds to the certain behaviors, it's really going to show me what needs to come next. For example, if he's, as far as the impulsive behaviors, if he's saying that he's going to hurt others and he doesn't understand that that is not appropriate response, maybe the next few lessons will only work on impulsive behaviors as far as aggression is concerned in that lesson, and just kind of extend it from there. But I'm excited to get this lesson going. I'm excited to see how he responds to it and really see how well it's going to affect his behavior in the future. Thank you.